So my name is Nana Akosua Wilson, and I'm a mother of three boys, ages 5, 3, and 1. And then I run a lingerie business called Zala Intimates. I've been married for 6 years. So we got married, and then just 3 days after our wedding, when we were back home from the hotel to prep for our honeymoon, we were attacked by armed robbers at gunpoint. And then they took virtually everything we had, the wedding gifts, the monies and everything, because we had not gotten time yet to, pack them and all that. So they took everything, our phones and everything. So as a young couple who were prepping to go for honeymoon, we didn't go for honeymoon. So we now had to, it was twice. The robbery was twice at gunpoint. So we were advised to leave that place immediately. So instead of prepping for honeymoon, we were looking for a place to move to. So at that point in time, we weren't really concentrating on pregnancy and all that, but then we got a new place. And then after then, I was doing my service at Wisconsin University. So there was a time when I was just doing my work in the office, going up and down, and then suddenly I could feel some gush of something from underneath. So I went to the washroom and I checked, and then it was some sort of discharge. So I didn't understand, but I ignored. So I started having this serious craving for pepper. I'd heard stuff. I like to research a lot and then talk to people a whole lot. So I knew that cravings is something that has to do with pregnancy. So immediately I went to a pharmacy, and then I got a pregnancy test kit, and then I went to the washroom while I was at work. Sorry. And then I went to check, and it was positive. So I just took a picture of it, and then I sent it through WhatsApp to my husband, and then I added a caption, "Junior is here." And then he called me right back, and he was so excited. So that was the first one. That pregnancy, just 2 weeks after discovering that I was pregnant, I was at the office again, and then I felt that gush again underneath, and I went to check this time, and it was blood. So immediately I called my husband and I told him, and then we rushed to the hospital. When we went to the hospital, the doctor said I had a condition called threatened abortion. It doesn't mean that I was trying to cause an abortion. It's just a medical term for when you are bleeding at the early stage of pregnancy. So I was given bed rest for as long as, in the beginning the doctor said it's for as long as they can see that I'm fit enough. So, and I was given some medicine to be insecting day and night. And trust me, for a young couple as at then, it was really expensive for us. But then on bed rest and then using that medicine. So about about 3.5 months, I went for my last, how do you say it? I went to see the doctor, and then he said he thinks the baby is stable now. So the nurses were excited and all that. I had been in bed, and then in the period of the 3 months, it wasn't like I was okay. This week you'll be bleeding still. Sometimes it's red, sometimes it's deep black, and then for 2 weeks there'll be no discharge, and then it will just surprise you. It was such a mess. But then glory be to God, I went through the pregnancy, and then I had my first son. Labor, I have long labor, 21 hours, 26 hours, and I think the last one was 24 hours. My labor is really long. I have really long labor. So that was it for the first one. And then he was 1 and 4 months, and then I realized I was pregnant with my second child. So obviously I had a boy for the first time, so I wished I would get a girl. And then, you know, this thing with pregnancy, like people go like, hey, the first one, you weren't looking this way, but this time you're looking this way, so I think it's a girl and all that drama. So it was time for scan to check the sex, and then I realized it was a boy again. And I was really sad. I cried. So my husband was like, what's wrong with you? It's a bad thing to do. Why are you crying? It's still a baby, so you don't need to cry. So I just had to accept it. And then on my 9th month, I was just going for the normal weekly checks. And then when I got to my 10, we went to the room and the doctor is like, I'm contracting. So, and funny enough, as if I knew, when we were going to the hospital, I told my husband to like, let me just put my hospital bag in the car. So when the doctor said that, in a way, I wasn't surprised. So that was in the morning around 9 a.m. So I was admitted, and then the whole thing that goes on, putting that thing around you to check for contractions and all that. So as I said earlier, I have very long labor. So in the evening around 5, they said I had dilated about 6 c.m. And then I had him at dawn. So at dawn, I was ready for delivery. So I had my baby. It was difficult as usual. Labor is not a joke. So it was difficult, but then the baby came. A day after, I was discharged, and then we, with us, I don't know if it's like everybody who does that, but a week after the child is born, we just do like an indoor naming before the actual naming ceremony, or outdooring or christening, 3 months time. So we were ready for the week, or for the 1 week naming, and I woke up that morning. I cooked jollof rice, I cooked wache all by myself. So everybody, we were all prepping, like the pastor was on the way, the kids took their bath and all that. Everybody was ready, the family members were there. So I had to now go and take a quick shower. So I entered the bathhouse, and then I just felt a gush of blood. Not the normal blood. It was as if like when you open a tap, the way the blood is coming, and this time with huge clots. So like, as I said, my mother was a midwife, and then I liked to read a lot. So there and then I knew what was happening to me. So I told my husband, I called him from the bathhouse, and you know men, he's like, peace, wow. I'm like, so I didn't even mind him. So I called my mom. Thank God my mom was around, and she being a retired midwife, she came to the bathhouse. So when she saw it, she's like, come, like stop bathing, come. So she put a pad there, and then within like 1 minute, the pad was soaked. So now she puts a cloth there. And then I wore my underpants, and then she told my husband, if you love your wife and you want her to be alive, let's drive to the hospital now. Forget about the naming ceremony. So they now put me in the car with all the guests. Everybody was like, what is this? My in-laws, they were surprised because I had woken up to cook. So everybody was surprised. So because I knew what was happening to me, when I sat in the car, I just looked at, so that time my second son was just a week old. So my mother took him and he joined us. So I just looked at my first son. He's so naughty. So I was like, oh, so is this the end of the road for me at 27? who is going to handle this boy for me? And I, like, at that moment, I didn't even think about the newborn baby because I felt like he's newborn, so he'll be okay when I'm not there. But I was thinking about the first one. So now we drove to the hospital, pay my husband, as if we were in an ambulance. So we got to the hospital. When we got to the hospital, they said the room that has the stretchers is locked and they don't know who the key is with. So the security man at the hospital held my husband. And like when we were going to the hospital, Ghana roads, the bumps. So every time there's a bump, there's a gush of blood. Like I could feel it, like huge clots, like as big as this fist. So I could feel that the cloth was soaked. And then when we got there, so there were no stretchers. So the security man and my husband now had to carry me, like the security man carrying my upper body and then my husband my lower body. And then they rushed me to the ward, gave me a bed, and then one doctor came, Dr. Texan, she came, and then she started pressing my tummy. So when she presses my tummy, then there will be a gush of blood and clots. So they had this bowl. So when she presses it, then like they'll take the clots and then put it in a bowl. And then they had like 3 bowls and she's like, no. So then I was like, doctor, I'm dizzy. And one thing about me is, if something is wrong with me, I say it. I don't give room for, it's nothing, no. You have to. Even if it's insignificant, you have to say it. So I was like, doctor, I'm feeling dizzy. Then she's like, no, we have to take her to the theater. They called the other doctors, Dr. Samoa, they came, and then it was like a movie. So they found the key to the stretcher now, so they put me on it. So they were like, they have to rush me to the theater. So as we were going, like they were making all those things on my hand so that they could put the IVs and the drips. As they were going, they had started everything. So you could see like I was going. I could see my doctors, they were worried. So we got to the theater. Then I asked, my doctor was sweating. One of them, Dr. Sama, he was sweating. And I could see the look on his face. And I'm like, doctor, are you okay? Then he wanted to pretend. He's like, I'm fine. I could say, I'm fine. Then I asked one theater nurse, I'm like, Letitia, will I be fine or I'm going to die? And she's like, you'll be fine, Akosua, you'll be fine. So it was like a movie. I could see like this one going here, this one coming, do this, bring me this. And then like the syringe and all those things on my hands were a whole lot. So I think they were waiting for the anesthetics. Yeah, this word, it's been difficult to pronounce. I always call them Anastasia. So it's been difficult to pronounce. So they were waiting for him, and I even learned that he had to park his car and then take how do you call it? Okada. Yes, he had to park his car and take Okada. Then he came. So when he came, and then the doctor, the surgeon also came, and he said, Mommy, it's a sign. I said, I'm fine. And he said, your husband is not in the right condition to sign. There are some papers to be signed, and then he's not in the position to do it. So we would let you do it. And the issue is they were going to evacuate my uterus and then try to see the cause of the bleeding, and then I don't know, see what they can do, like take, if there is anything stuck there or whatever, they'll take it out. And then the reason for the signing is 50-50. If they're not able to stop the bleeding, they would have to transfer me to 37 military hospital so that my womb will be taken out. Then he asked the nurses what I was saying, and they're like, this baby is the second one. The one she had a week ago is the second one. And he's like, fine. And you know, it's fine. 2 now, yeah. And see, we rather try and save her life, even if we have to take out the womb. And at that point, I didn't care. So I just signed the thing as I was shivering, and I signed it. So man came and then he told me he's going to put something on my nose and it's going to make me like pass out. I was like, okay. And they put something in my mouth. I think it's to suction the saliva during the procedure so that you don't choke. So they put it there and then I didn't see anything again. It's like I was in a trance. The things I was seeing like cartoons. I was seeing strange things in the sky and like, as of now, I don't even know what it is. But then one thing I remember I saw was a very huge picture of my first son in a white shirt in the sky, and he was smiling down at me. And then that kind of like in the trance, that kind of gave me some feeling that I'm not going to die, I'll be fine. Like that was just it. So I don't know what went on. So at a point in time, I could hear a voice. I knew a familiar voice, and that was the owner of the hospital, Dr. Enin. So I remember I was like, Dr. Enin. Then he's like, oh, my sweet Akosua, how are you? You are fine, okay? So then I realized I was back, and then they now took out the thing from my mouth, but then I was weak. So I realized the battle is over. Then he came and then he started taking out some things from underneath me. Apparently it was pad. So after the procedure, they had pushed pad, like some pads inside. I don't know what reason, but I could hear the doctor saying, you have to remove it. And then he was so angry, and then he removed them. He's like, this doesn't show that the bleeding will stop. If the bleeding will still come, it will come. You pushing the pad there doesn't mean that like it has stopped. So remove it and then make sure it has stopped so that you know it has stopped. So now he was so angry, and then he now took out all the pads from there, and then he pressed my abdomen again, and then he was like, she's fine now. So now there was one doctor who had to sit with me because they said he had to massage my uterus so that they should make sure that my uterus was contracting before I'll be out of the theater. So apparently what happened to me was PPH, that's postpartum hemorrhage, and it's the number one like leading cause of maternal mortality. So that was what happened, and then he had to massage my uterus, and then I think and it's so painful. Look at what I've been through. I had an episiotomy done during the delivery, and then when this happened, the sore was still there, and they had to put their hands there, so it had torn again. So the pain, I don't know, it's out of the world. And then the uterus massage too was another thing. So glory be to God, I was back in the ward, and the next morning I found myself just singing praises. I was just singing praises. I was like, God, thank you. God, thank you. I was singing and crying, and I had to be lying prostrate like this, like face up. I think I was in that position for like a week. So when I had to for the wee, they connected the tube, but when I had to poo, this advanced hospital bed, so they will put a pan underneath the bed, so you be pooping and people will be standing there. Like I had to be lying there like this for like a week. And then the blood transfusions, after blood there, I think I took about 4 or 5 pints of blood. So I now thought God had seen me through, and I was like, thank you, God. So I was there one time when I was able to finally sit up. I was there when the surgeon came for the normal checkup, and then he came, he's like, let me check your palm. He checked my palm. Then now he he wanted to check my eye, and then he screamed, she's so pale, blood. And guys, that freaked me out. It freaked me out. So I started feeling dizzy suddenly. Then I had to lie down. like I was shaking. So they had to hold me, and then I don't know whatever they injected, and then it calmed down and I didn't see anything. I think I was giving another blood transfusion again. So that kind of made me panic a lot, because from the theater I thought that was it, I'm fine. So he coming to say that, I was like, so it means that I'm not fine, like this is not the end of the road, like I'm not fine. So I became very anxious, like uncomfortable, and then in the evening I'll just be having palpitations. And then one night the palpitation was serious, my heartbeat was serious. So when I reported it, they had to call an ambulance and then take me to Nyaho to go and do some sort of scan. Is it ECG or something like that? So when we're going, when they put me in the, I couldn't walk, so they will lift you to the stretcher, take you. When they get to the ambulance, then they will push you to the bed again. So as I was lying in the ambulance and I saw my mother coming with my week-old baby, and then they also came to sit in the ambulance, I was so sad. I'm like, oh, such a little baby sitting in an ambulance. God, if not for me, look at this little baby and heal me. So we went to Nyaho and they did everything, and then the doctor said it was fine. So long story short, I was discharged and I came home. And that was the beginning of my tragedy. Depression set in, trauma. I had PSTD. So as I was home, still recovering, because what I had gone through is not like a child's play. So it happened that I even don't want to think about what happened. At the mention of you have a visitor, then I start panicking, and then my heart raised, my BP would just escalate. Like it was that bad. I couldn't watch TV. The only thing I could keep was my phone, and even that, maybe when I'm scrolling and I see something concerning death, sickness, it gives me panic. See, I was like, I had turned into something like an animal. Like I lost interest in everything. Like I couldn't have a conversation. I would just be in bed, and because I had to build up my blood, they would be giving me all those things, contomere and stuff like that, still taking a whole lot of medications and all that. So little by little, I got better. It was a long journey, but I got better. One time, I had new staffs and I was driving to the shop. I was taking the new staffs to the shop. And then just in the middle of nowhere, like on a main road, East Legon main road, for some reason I felt dizzy, very dizzy, and my heart was racing. And in the middle, the car started horning, ping, ping, and even that, like, I got confused. Like, it was like the whole world was falling on me. I didn't know what to do in the car, and I gathered courage, and then I branched to a less busy road, and then I parked. And I didn't know my heart, it was like I was going to die. So I even weed and pulled on myself. So I managed the stuff I was taking to the shop, there was some rubbers and things in it, some stuff. So I just managed to clean up the seats. And then I called my mom and I told her, and she's like, she's calling somebody to come and get me. I'm like, no, by the time you call somebody to come and get me from Lakeside Estate, I would have been like, I'll be gone. So let me see if I'll find a driver. And I'm like, should I come home or should I go to the hospital? She said, come home. So I got a driver. Oh, God bless that driver. With the mess in the car, I put one of the rubber on the seat. And then my mother was still on the line, we were still on phone, so that she could direct the driver just in case I pass out or whatever. So as we were going, I just needed water. I was pouring water over my head, and we go home. And then my mother checked my pulse. She said it's up. She told me to relax, like a nurse. So she knew one or two things she could do. So that passed. And then I started having that kind of experience like over and over. Like it will go, I'll be fine 2 days, and it will come again. And yeah, the pastors and the things that I have, the oil I have drunk and all that. I'm not saying that it's not good to drink oil from your pastor and all that, but I mean, it was all like you are sick, but you are not sick. Because every time that thing happens, my husband will rush me. So now my husband is more than an ambulance driver, because like on countless times that thing happens to me. I'm dizzy, my heart is racing, like I'm trembling, I'm sweating, and I'll be rushed to the hospital. And when I get there, the labs, whatever, there's nothing. So it happened on several occasions. So one time my doctor was like, Dr. Sama, he's like, Akosua, there's nothing wrong with you, okay, but I think you should see a clinical psychologist. I'm like, doctor, are you saying I'm going mad? He's like, no, you're not going mad. I think it's because of the trauma you went through. So I think it has something to do with like your mind, and not any physical thing in your body. So I said okay. So if the one he recommended was at Holy Trinity. So the first time I went to see the clinical psychologist, I mean, like the thing I was going through, I was expecting to be given some pill or something so that I can be fine. It was just about like counseling, lie down, meditate. And as at then, it was, sorry to say, it was nonsense to me, because what I was going through, it had affected my life. I had lost interest in everything. Like, so what is all this meditation? It was not, so I stopped going, and to be like writing down the times when like you feel that way and all that. So I stopped going, and then with my pastor prayers and things, there are times when I'm fine, back and forth. So after, like during this battle, I realized I was pregnant again. I'm like, God, you don't like me. I can hardly take care of myself. When even driving alone is a problem. Like I couldn't even go to the mall. Like when I see people, I'll just be shivering. Like it was so bad. And I'm pregnant. How can I take care of myself and take care of a baby? So the truth, God forgive me. Abortion is not a good thing, but if I had my own will, I would have aborted that pregnancy, because what I was going through was, I mean, I didn't need a baby as at then. So my mother, my husband, they spoke to me. For my husband, because he knew what I was like, he really felt what I was going through, because every time he's around, I mean, I could have convinced him for the abortion. I could have, but one or two things. So I went to see the doctor, and my doctor told me, if it's about bleeding, when you do abortion, you bleed too. So if you are scared of bleeding, like what's happened, then it's like it can happen again. So the best thing is let have the baby, and this time around would perform a C-section, and then after the C-section we'll tie your tubes. That's called BTL. So I was like, so they managed to convince me. I was like, okay. And then the more reason why I decided to even keep it was I was thinking I was going to be a girl, because I have 2 boys and it'll be a girl. So I was managing. And then like it was still coming, that thing, like dizziness, confusion, like maybe 2 weeks I'll be fine. I'll be going about my business and doing everything. And then mind you, through this whole thing I've narrated, I was still selling. I have girls at the shop, alright, but I do the online posting. I sometimes reply DMs and WhatsApp and all that. I was still finding like a way to do it, because with my business, it's not just about money. I think like I have some sort of passion for it. So I went through the pregnancy, and then during my 5th month, the doctor recommended, I told him I didn't like the Holy Trinity psychologist because because when I was pregnant with my 3rd son, I was still being rushed to the hospital for the same thing. And then every time there's nothing wrong with me. So he recommended another clinical psychologist, and I went to see her. And then that was when I understood what was happening to me. And I know a lot of people are going through that and they think it's spiritual. There's spirituality, but this thing is a medical condition. So the doctor made me understand that I had anxiety disorder. That's a mental condition. It makes you feel like you are dying, like you're going to have a heart attack just for no reason, And then it was as a result of the past traumatic stuff. So that was when the doctor was able to explain. So now I understood. So it's not spiritual. So this is it. Then she's like, now you are pregnant, so there will be no medication for you. So you have to try CBT. That's cognitive behavioral therapy, where you go and see the doctor and then you talk one-on-one, and then you talk. She asks you, did you have a panic attack? So what was happening to me was sometimes a panic attack, sometimes anxiety attack. In my case was an anxiety attack because it was for a long period. Okay, so I did that with her, and then it got to a point she had to travel. So when she went, I felt I was fine because I wasn't really having it again. So I had my C-section for my 3rd son. It was a C-section, and it went so well. And then I was discharged. We came home. So on the 6th week, I was taking him to see the doctor. And then suddenly in the hospital, I felt dizzy. I felt I was going to. So I shouted at the reception. I was like, Jesus, I'm dizzy. Then they checked my BP, and it was not knowing. After I had the CS, when I came home, I had gotten new arrival. So I was not resting. New mom, I was not resting. I was working, taking pictures and all that. So I think that kind of stressed me because I had a C-section is a major surgery. So I had to rest, and I didn't. So please, women, we are strong, but when you have to rest, you have to rest. So that was it. And then I was admitted, and then the BP was not going down for 2 days. They said it wasn't going down, so they managed to do, and then it went down finally, and I went home. And then the attacks started coming again. It makes you scan, you can scan your body. And then the little sensation you have in your body, it tells you that you are going to die. And then it starts manifesting physically. So you'll be dizzy, you'll be trembling, your heart will be, you can even see your heart beating from your chest. So then again, I went to the hospital. The doctor is like, Akosua, why did you stop seeing the clinical psychologist? Then he recommended another person. So this time around, I had to go to the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. And the thoughts of the psychiatric hospital is another thing. So we booked a date, and it happened to be that the doctor I was even going to see was my customer. I didn't even know. So upon seeing her, I'm like, oh, this is Rama. So we go to the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. She saw me, and then the whole environment, not to say that it was a bad environment, but the thoughts of, we have this thought that Accra Psychiatric is for mad people. So the whole thought, being there, my heart rate just escalated. They checked my BP, and it was 170 something. Then she's like, calm down. And then my mind also tells me, when you have anxiety disorder, your mind, everything that happens to your mind tells you are going to die. So my mind tells me that when your BP is high, that is it, you are dying. So I saw this doctor, and I started medication. It was up and down. Some medications were working, sometimes it doesn't work. It was the whole back and forth. And then at this moment, I lost my favorite uncle. So my mother was not around. I had to take care of the newborn with my C-section. with my panic attacks, it was so difficult. Like, there's no formula for raising children. With my first son, he was so, like, I don't want to use any word that will look bad, like he's so naughty, like so energetic. And I remember when he was like a year old, when we get visitors, he would just go for our shoes and be throwing it. Like he likes to fight, like. And then sometimes you get people saying, now bono, like, I'm like 1 year old. Even now he's 5, he's still a baby, because he thinks he's okay. I mean, you can scold, but you should know how to do that. So there's no formula for motherhood or parenthood. There is no formula. If there was a formula, like I always tell people, if there was a formula, like a woman won't give birth to 5 children, and then they would have different characters, or a woman will give birth to 5 children, and then one will be a thief, the other will be a prostitute, sorry to use that word, the other will be a pastor, like different like behaviors coming from one mother and father. So it shows that there's no formula for parenting, but you learn, okay? You know that between this ages 1 and 5, this is how you talk to them. Between ages 1 and 5, they need all the attention, so you give them the attention. And then how to deal with their tantrums, you have to understand it. I know tantrums can be so irritating, because sometimes when you are like you are like pressurized, like there's so much pressure on you, and then a child is crying for no reason. It's just tantrums, it's normal, you did it too, so you just know how to deal. When they do that, it's just attention. So when you give that attention and it's not working, just leave them to cry. They will be okay. Once you are sure that they are not hungry, if they are still babies, their diaper is not wet and all that, it's just a phase, it will pass. So there's no formula to parenting. It's just God, and then you learn. Obviously, first time mother, like, you know, when you're not a mother yet, when you see people holding babies and breastfeeding, like I used to admire it a lot. Yesterday I was telling my husband that I used to admire it when people, like when I was younger, when somebody is holding their baby and they're like, the baby is sleeping and they'll be picking things from their hair and all that. Like, it's so nice an experience, and for you to be able to experience that is a blessing. And then when they are growing, like now, their conversations is so funny, like it's so funny. And then like how they will deal with you, the mother and the father. Like my son will go like, Daddy, you like shouting, Daddy, don't do this to mommy. At times he's like, why did you guys get married? Like all that, seeing them grow and then the changes, like it's so wonderful, because the person was just a little child and now he can say all these things. And then sometimes when they are playing, I just stare at them. I'm like, oh, so I also gave birth to these children. And knowing that like you have something that is yours, that is it, like that feeling. Even if you have nothing, like you see human beings and you're like, these human beings came from me, like they are mine, like you are not sharing with anyone. Like I think it's a blessing. So motherhood is difficult, but it's like it's nice. For instance, when you go somewhere and then there are times when when you go somewhere and people think you don't have children, and then you want to in a way let them know that you have children and all that. It's nice. Yeah, it's nice. That time when I go somewhere and I say I have children, people think I'm lying or something, but it's nice. My final words, yes, one thing I want to address. You know now, like the way the world is going, everybody is trying to make ends meet. So that's why you find a lot of mothers quitting their 8 to 5 jobs to do some businesses. and then some doing it on the side as well. Some online, some have premises and all that. You know, there was a time that I had been admitted at the hospital and my phone had been taken away from me. And then when my phone was like, I had my phone back, I just checked my business page, Instagram, and a lady has sent, "Madam, when we send messages, you don't reply. Why don't you?" Like, it was so harsh. So what I would say is, see, now the internet, like, it's full of mothers who are trying to make ends meet. So let's be kind with our words. You don't know what somebody is going through. I know as a customer, you don't care. You just want your product in exchange, like giving your money for a product or a service. But you are a customer, but you are human. And if you are a woman, maybe you haven't been through that stage. If I'm buying now from a mother and she gives me any excuse using her children, I'll gladly understand, because I know how it feels like to be a mother and be doing business, especially online. So if you are not a mother yet, maybe you don't know how it feels like, but the best you can do is be kind with your words, because like people are going through a lot. So sometimes your words can even heal somebody. So let's be kind with our words. I think that's what I would say.